There is a good chance if you are heard of GitHub if you are in tech space. Even if you are not a developer by trade, you might have even stumbled across GitHub repository or two while learning about software or web development. Still, GitHub can seem perplexing if you have never used it. Is it a cloud storage site, a social network site for programmer, a code sharing site? As it turned out, the answer to all these questions is yes and more. Today, GitHub is one of the most popular resources for developers to share code and work on projects together. It's free, easy to use, and has become central in the movements toward open source software. If this sounds like something you should know, read or watch this video. We will explain what GitHub is, why it is popular, how to get started, and perhaps most importantly, what Git actually means. Now come to the main question is what is GitHub? GitHub is an online software development platform used for storing, tracking, and collaborating on software projects. It enables developers to upload their code file and to collaborate with fellow developers on open source projects. GitHub also serves as a social networking site in which developers can openly network, collaborate, and pitch their work. Since its founding in 2008, GitHub has acquired millions of users and established itself as a go-to platform for collaborating software projects. The service is free and comes up with several helpful features for sharing code and working with others in real time. On top of its code-related function, GitHub also encourages users to build a personal profile and brand for themselves. You can visit anyone's profile and see what project they own and contribute to. This makes GitHub a type of social network for programmers and foster a collaborative approach to software and website development. I will be discuss GitHub in more detail in a little bit, but first I will need to understand the technology that GitHub is based on. So the next question is what is Git? Git is open source version control software used for manufacturing and tracking the revision. It can be used with any type file but is most often used for tracking code files. Git is most widely used version control system in software development and GitHub leverages this technology for its services, hence its name. You have likely worked with some form of version control before, for example Google Docs, as well as the other Google Workspace tools, has a version history tool where you can view changes to the document at different points in time. Microsoft has its similar track changes feature, or you might prefer saving multiple copies of and labeling them V1, V2, etc. Advanced version control is necessary for software projects, especially collaborative ones. When building softwares, developers are frequently and simultaneously updating the code to add features and fix bugs. It wouldn't make sense to make these changes to the source code directly, since any issue would affect users. Instead, developers work with their own copies of code, then after the code had been thoroughly tested, add this code to the main code base. That seems all well and good, but with multiple contributors, things can get very messy very quickly if there is no to combine everyone's contribution into one unified code base or see who contributed what changes. These changes also must be tracked and stored in case something break and that developer need to backtrack and restore a previous version. This is what Git for. When a developer wants to make a change to the software, they download their own copy of source code from its central storage location, which is called a repository for short form is repo, to their local system, makes modifications safely to their own copy, then merge their revised copy back with the source file in the repository along with the comments. The comments is used for explaining the changes. Then Git tracks all of these modifications and store previous version as a backup. So, what is GitHub and what is used for? GitHub allows software developers and engineers to create remote, public-facing repository on the cloud for free. Once you have set up a repository on a GitHub, you can copy it to your device, add and modify files locally, then push your changes back to the repository where your changes are displayed to the public. So, why would you prefer GitHub over developing with the private repository? Here are the key reasons why GitHub is such a big player. Enhanced collaboration. The single biggest selling point of GitHub is the set of project collaboration features, including version control and access control. To illustrate what's possible with GitHub, I have imagined this scenario. You want to code up an online game and you enlist your friend to help you. You create a repository on GitHub that stores all the files, including current and past versions. Then give your friend collaborator access to this repo as well. You decide to work on the main gameplay and while your partner tackles the game menu and setting screens. In order for you both to push your changes at the same time without interfering the other work, you create a branch, a separate development area where your teammate can build out their screens. Meanwhile, you continue work in your branch. Once your friend finishes their work, they can make a pull request asking to combine their work with yours. If you approve, you can merge your branches and thus your code. Now say any other developer sees your game repository and has an idea to add multiplayer mode. Then they can fork or make their own copy of your repository. Then add their new features. Once finished, they can submit a pull request to you. If you approve, this fork repository merges with yours and your game is now a multiplayer. Note that anyone can fork a public repository, but it is up to the repository owner to accept or reject pull requests. Of course, no software is perfect on the first go, which is why your GitHub repository also has an issue section for listing to-dos and reporting problems that with your game, discussing them and making them resolve. To address these issues, you might look back at a file change log to see when and where things went wrong. To sum up, GitHub provides a centralized space where several dozen or even thousands of developers can seamlessly contribute to a project without worrying about overriding anyone's work or losing work of changes. Easy file management. GitHub adds a sleek graphical user interface layer on the top of Git. On its own, Git operates through the command line, a computer text-based interface. Developers know how to use the command line, but for many, it's not always the most efficient way to interact with files. GitHub interfaces provide a clean and user-friendly means to perform Git actions as well as the view file history. This is more convenient for developers and more accessible for beginners getting the hang of Git. Any other benefits that make the GitHub more accessible is cloud-based infrastructure. A GitHub user may access their repository from any location and any device, download the repository and push their changes. Using GitHub means you are not limited to one device or one environment. The next part is about social networking. Any GitHub user knows the platform is more than just a place to work on code. All GitHub users have profile to display their project's contribution and activity on the site and can see anyone public facing profile and repositories. GitHub social network is critical to its success as it encourages developers to explore and contribute to open source projects of all kinds. Previously, aspiring collaborator would have to personally reach out to the project owner asking for permission to contribute. With GitHub, it is as easy forking a project and then making a pull request. A project owner then can get vet someone's profile and past contribution before accepting their request. GitHub also serves as a way to showcase projects for the employees, acting as a portfolio of sorts. For example, recruiters often use GitHub to scout talent since prospects code is valuable for anyone to review. The main benefit is an open source project. Thanks to the benefits I have learned about, GitHub has fueled a surge of the open source collaboration, leading to the creation of many widely used software technologies, from the CSS frameworks to the data visualization library that you to game you might spend too much time playing a lot of impressive feats that wouldn't be around without the open source GitHub repository. As seen via trend with Web 2.0, GitHub has also opened up the software development to anyone who wants to learn programming, fostering an engaged, innovating and productive community. Private repository shows that all great, but how does GitHub make money if everything is free and open source? The answer is that GitHub provides paid services as well, including private repository on a period plan. Teams can collaborate on GitHub while keeping their code behind closed virtual doors. GitHub also offers enterprise solutions that equip organizations with internal collaboration tools. How to get started using GitHub? That's all on GitHub. Here, how to get started. Just a head up, you should be comfortable using the command line before working with GitHub, as the Git using the terminal as its interface. The number one, the following step you can follow along the video. So move to the number one point step, install the latest version of Git on your device. You will install Git install to work with your GitHub repository. There are the various ways to do this. So follow the recommendations on the Git website. The Git software is free. Number two, after installing the Git, go to the GitHub website and create an account with your email address. Point number three, or once your GitHub is set up, you will be taken to your dashboard. To start with your first repository, create repository on the left side. Point number four, on the create a new repository screen, enter your repository name and an optional description. You can change both later. Point number 5. Once on the same screen, add a README file, a test file that describes your project and best practices and development. Git ignore which remove the irrelevant file like DS stores and the lessons for your project. Point number 6 is the click create repository. You will be taken to your main repository page will list your files. Point number 7 is you will now create a local copy of your GitHub repository or the GitHub terms. Clone your repository where you will edit your files and push your changes. On your main repository page, click the green code button, then copy the HTTP URL of your repository. Point number 8. Open your terminal and navigate to the directory you want to place your repository copy. Now, point number 9. In the terminal, enter a git clone. After this, paste in the repository URL where you previously copied. Your command should look like this. Point number 10. Press enter to clone the repository. You will see a new file added to your local file system with your repository name. If you open this file, you will see it contains the file in your GitHub repository. These are copied version of your repository file that you can edit then push back to your repository. Point number 11. Let's end by creating a new file in your clone repository then pushing it to GitHub. In your local clone, create a new text file called the hello.txt. In it, place the next hello word and save the file. Point number 12 is in the terminal, navigate to inside your clone repository. So the next step is point number 13. In the terminal, type git add and that add press enter. This prepare all file in your clone repository to be pushed. Now brief about GitHub. The platform behind the software. When we think of technical innovation, it's something that easy to attribute everything to one person. That thing Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. Of course, the reality is that the software advances thanks to the millions of the professional and amateur working together to develop the new things in new way. That is the beauty of the GitHub. It lowered the barrier, the entry for collaboration, so anyone can pitch in their idea towards the project of their choice or start a project of their own. It is difficult to imagine the world of the open source software before the GitHub. Indeed, there sure was a lot less of it. Now it's ready for anyone to explore, including you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I work hard to prepare such videos for you guys. If you like this video, then please do like, comment and share this video with your colleague friends that study in your university. I will see you in my next video. Oh, at the end, don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel Get Excitement for more exciting courses for free of cost. So stay tuned.